And then we want to bring to your attention the spec that is kind of becoming more and more used these days, which is ambient contrast ratio, right? Now you're probably familiar with hearing about contrast ratio. That is the ratio of the brightness of the white compared to the darkness of the dark that a display can achieve. And this is almost always measured, the contrast ratio is measured in a dark room, right? Because it came out of the television industry, which is usually used indoors, maybe even used at night in darker environments. But the reality is that devices today are not only being used indoors, right? They're being used outdoors. They're being used in offices and hospitals. And they're constantly moving around to different environments. And so while the contrast ratio in a dark environment may seem great, it actually changes as you move and as the ambient light changes. So this chart we're showing you here is the actual change that occurs in a display as you add more and more light and ambient light and direct light into the environment. So as you can see here, a traditional TFT backlit LCD, this specific display that we tested, started out at 2000:1 contrast ratio, and what was that was in the spec sheet. When we tested it in a typical school or office environment, about 500 lux of ambient light, the contrast ratio actually tested out to only 157:1. When we moved it to direct sunlight, which is traditionally about 50,000 lux, the contrast ratio is down to 9:1. So you can see, depending on that environment, some of these displays will have a significant degradation in the contrast ratio. And that usually is with the LCDs, the TFT LCDs, and the OLED devices. Contrast that with a front lit reflective device like the LCD 2.0 with the front light. And you get a consistent 30:1 contrast ratio, whether it's in a dark environment or in direct sunlight. Right? So really, this is going to connect to what is that environment, where is this product going to be used, right? And how important does it need to be read in direct sunlight or having a consistency of display both indoor and outdoor. And that's where ambient contrast ratio really helps to put into context, how is this product going to be used and how is it going to perform in what is more a typical use case of the device.